So in terms of overall enrollment, your August 20th report shows that headcount was down 4.2%. As of this past Friday, enrollment is currently down 3.7%, with FTEs being down 3.2%, which is also an increase from August 20th, when FTEs were down 4.9%. The positive movement was caused specifically by a change in new and transfer full-time enrollment. So as of August 27th, headcount, new full-time headcount is at 1.5%, so up 1.5%, and transfer full-time headcount is flat with last year. So that was a gain in terms of August 20th. New full-time student headcount was down 3.6%, and full-time transfer headcount was down 13.8%. So those were the gains that we made. And this Friday's report will reflect in additional enrollment that occurred over the past weekend, as well as this week with late applicants who received approval to register this week. So I'll stop and ask if you have any questions.
Any questions?
So
Dr.
I do.
Chairman
Dr.
Martin.
Arbitis, I do have a question with regard to Gemini and your anticipation of how those students, as they come into the fold here in September and October, might affect our numbers.
Well, Gemini actually is in a good place. We are offering 8 new technical courses. So I anticipate that we will fare well in terms of concurrent enrollment for the fall. Probably on par or perhaps a little bit better than last fall.
Terrific. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Carol, this is Donna.
Hi, Donna.
Hi. So I was also very encouraged to see that the returning percentage of students was up, and to see the branch campuses substantially up. I'm assuming that the branch campuses numbers are reflecting those students who are returning because they probably weren't with us during the pandemic.
Right. Well, you'll recall that in 2020-21, the past academic year, we offered very few in-person classes, and the Geneva and Newark campus centers had nothing to offer. So those increases reflect the in-person course offerings at those centers. And this will be a rebuilding year for those centers, in that not being able to have that direct connection with students, it will take a while for them to regain what they lost prior to COVID.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions for Dr. Arbitis?
Yep, this is Santa. I have one.
Hi,
Santa.
Santa.
Hello. Did you see anyone withdraw because of the vaccine mandate?
Yes, we're seeing students withdraw currently.
Do you have a number? Is it high?
I don't have a number at this point.
Okay.
This is Rob.
Yes, though, if you're on.
Santa, go ahead. I had a comment, but you had a question first.
I'm just curious if we would actually know that's the reason why they're withdrawing, if that's a question that we could ask or would ask.
Some are articulating that reason.
That's a difficult question to ask. But Santa, what's more important, I think, will be how well are we going to do in getting the students vaccinated to meet the standards that need to be met by September 27th. And so this, we don't know, that there's the students that did it right now, but what's going to be equally or more important will be what happens after September 27th. How many students are left that then decided to opt out?
Thank you.
This is Jeff. Maybe a related question is, of those who drop out, will they simply do remote learning online, or will they really literally drop out?
So we recognize that there may be students who have no plans to obtain the vaccine. And we communicated with them we communicated with all students prior to the start of the fall term to inform them of the vaccine mandate and the September 27th deadline, to encourage them to make decisions about their course enrollment based on that information. And for students who choose not to be vaccinated, there certainly is or was the option for them to enroll, to modify their course schedule from in-person or synchronous to asynchronous, fully online, and stay enrolled.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions for Dr. Abetis? Thank you, Dr. Abetis.
You're welcome.
Moving on, Dr. Kaiser, retention.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. Can you hear me okay? Great. I know this is in your board packet, but I thought I would share my screen to go over it. This is the annual retention or monthly retention update that I provide every month. It will be an overview of what we have planned for this academic year. We don't have our fall to fall retention data as of yet, but I could talk about some new initiatives and some revisions of existing initiatives. So I want to first draw everybody's attention to this box. We've expanded our intake survey. This is for both new and continuing students. It's such an anomaly year. We have continuing students who've been online for a full year and they've never stepped foot on our campus. So we have these really a different type of population of students, both new who've been living with COVID, whatever their circumstance was, and then existing students. So we wanted to find out more about these students. So we've expanded these intake surveys, again, for new and continuing students, asking questions about how much are you working? What is your access to computers and internet and a reliable internet? How has COVID impacted your learning and in what ways? Do you have mental health issues or concerns and how can we assist with them? Do you have any basic needs, insecurities, and basic needs in housing or food insecurities? We're learning a lot more about these students. In the coming months, I'll be able to compile this data and give you a profile of our new and continuing students. But as sort of one little piece of this, from the last data that I looked, over 88% of our students are working to some capacity while being a full-time student. So what are we doing with this information? We're using it, as the headline says, we're trying to leverage high tech to develop high-touch solutions or experiences for our students. So we're taking this information from these intake surveys and doing customized push communications to students. So if a student indicates that they feel that they've experienced some sort of learning loss or they're not confident because of the past COVID environment, we're pushing specific communications from our academic support offices to them. Likewise, if they've experienced some sort of experience, likewise, if they've experienced some sort of loss due to COVID, insecurity of basic needs or food insecurity, we're pushing very specific communication to them. In addition to that, we're standing up our student call campaign. As you've seen, we are very much interested in developing a high-touch experience for these students. So we're calling all students. And through this work, we've identified a cohort of students. These are new students who are not taking a first-year experience course for whatever reason. And we've doubled down on our integrated first-year experience. So we think this is a cohort of students who will need a little extra support because they're not taking a first-year experience course. So this is the new work that we have been engaged in. We're also doubling down on our integrated first-year experience. By this, I mean, we've always had first-year experience courses, but I really want to emphasize the integrated piece. We're implementing an integrated FYE planning committee that aligns our systems in a better way so that many of the interventions and communications that we've already had, now we're trying to make sure that they're very well aligned with all of our systems and everyone is aware. So we have a planning committee working on this work, and we have new features of our integrated first-year experience. So more on that. Again, this is really the first year we're rolling out this more fully engaged or fully integrated first-year experience. So these are the rather new features we're adding in terms of our retention efforts. In terms of our midterm grade pilot, we will continue to that. That received very positive success. But we do have a new LMS that we're planning for. We're moving from Blackboard to Brightspace. So we're hesitant to integrate a new midterm grade pilot, only to have to change that when we have a new LMS. So we're just going to continue with that as planned, but we have a large participation rate. It's well received. So we'll just make refinements to an already existing initiative. The same holds true for Starfish, our early alert systems. We have over 70% completion rate by our full-time and part-time faculty, and we'll continue with our 3 check-in surveys each semester. And the same holds true for our academic recovery plan. These are students who've been identified as not making progress or appropriate progress on their academic programs. And last year we started a program or an intervention where these students have a mandatory advisory appointment. They have a mandatory reflection piece where they have to think about and walk through where they think they could have done better or what was responsible for their not being as successful as they would hope in their academic classes. They develop a plan that's written and integrated or put into their Starfish notes so that our academic staff and faculty could see their plan. And then we're requiring modules that to address issues. It might be time management, it might be how to read a textbook, it might be whatever intervention or reason that they think they might be having problems. So I'm going to pause there and find if there's any questions regarding our 21-22 retention efforts. And the best way I could sum this up is we're really trying to leverage high-tech solutions to develop a high-touch educational experience for our students.
Thank you, Dr. Kaiser. Any questions for Dr. Kaiser? Oh, of course, I will have one for you. You mentioned the 70% rate for faculty using Starfish and hopefully other of these systems. These are new things that are new, tend to cause resistance. What's your sense as far as the adoption rate among the faculty on some of these initiatives?
I could say with great confidence that our adoption rate on our Starfish Early Alert campaign in terms of faculty who are participating in these surveys is higher than our benchmark SUNY schools. And it tends to increase. It's been rather steady at high 60s, low 70s, but we see a steady increase, a small steady increase. I'm trying to use carrots to increase participation rates rather than hammers. At some point, we may make this a requirement, but I'm a bit hesitant to add a sort of a requirement for our faculty to do this, but it's certainly part of our ongoing discussions.
Thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Kaiser?
George? This is
Yes.
Donna.
Yes.
I'm curious, Jonathan, about the frequency that you are looking at the data that you're getting, and it seems to be data coming from a lot of different wonderful points, but how do you manage all of that, or the frequency of managing that?
Yeah, that's a great question. There is a lot to manage. Luckily, one of the things I'm really proud of, we're leveraging Starfish in a much more robust way. So Starfish, again, is our early alert system. And it's a way that we push communications to students, but it's also a way that we schedule appointments and take notes on students. And we have, when you look at our utilization of Starfish notes, that has increased significantly over the course of 3 years. So, and it's all managed in one place. And the nice thing about this is that all our students and faculty are familiar with Starfish. So although we're leveraging it in a deeper and more robust way, it's not something new that faculty or students have to learn. It's a system that they're already familiar with.
Thank you,
If
Dr.
I can
Kaiser.
make one last plug, if you are interested in helping out with our call campaign, I will send an information. There should be information again in e-news on Monday, but I will also send that out to everyone. It's Sim Covington and Cassie Kent who are leading this effort. And I can't tell you enough how appreciative I am of everyone who participates in these campaigns. It really does take a village. And I love the sense that we can make students feel we are a small school, and our experience should feel like a small school experience. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Kaiser. We'll move on to resolutions, which again, we're just reviewing, and we will we'll vote on those during consent. And Jonathan, if you don't mind, we'll come right back to you.
Sure.
With academic freedom policy.
This is the academic freedom policy. This is the second read. I introduced this not last month, I guess. Yeah, I introduced this in August. As I noted last month, this was voted and endorsed in February 2019 by our academic senate. And due to an error, it was never brought to the board. In consultation with the chair of our academic senate, we haven't changed anything, so we're bringing it to the board for your approval now. There's rather two small additions to it. One addition is simply the phrase that is endorsed by the SUNY Faculty Council of Community Colleges, or FCC, and the AAUP, the American Association of University Professors. And it's simply a phrase noting that they're able to provide constructive criticism on academic and institutional policies and procedures. And then there is a carve out as well, stating that academic freedom does not trump statutory rights. And this has to do with disability accommodations. So I'll pause and find out if there's any questions.
Do we have yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just a
ahead.
point of clarification, and this has nothing to do with the resolution. This is the way the policy was written. I'd just like to know what the reasoning behind the use of the term officers as it relates to faculty members, faculty or citizens, members of a learned profession, and officers of an educational institution. And I apologize, I did not focus on that earlier. I was just curious why that term officers is used.
No, I have to say I haven't contemplated that in the recent past, so I don't have a recollection of that. But I imagine it might be something to the effect of we often refer to different positions as officers, similar to my position as Chief Academic Officer for the college. Another example of that officer language would be, we have a Title IX officer for the college.
Be able to get some clarification on that. Back to the board, I think I think Trustee Mccarty brings up a good point. If it was the cabinet, would be considered officers, or but I think we'd like to understand what that is.
That is a fair and legitimate question. I will research that and bring it back to the board.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
so Chairman Cushman, then as a point of order, based on Trustee Mihalik's comments, is this something that we would put off for the October meeting, or is there a comfort level to approve this policy now? Donna, maybe you have a thought on that.
Yeah.
Sure. The resolution as written does not mention officers, and so I have no problem with the resolution as it's written. This would be a point of clarification in the actual policy number A3.
I see that.
I just wanted to make sure there were no legal definitions of officer that would be confusing.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Donna.
We might be able to do that before we actually have the vote. And based on what Jonathan provided, I think part of its language that comes from AAUP that is a standard language that is inherent to how they write language for such policies and so forth. So it's a generic statement, as Jonathan stated. I'm pretty confident of that.
I am too. All right, I will try to research that as soon as possible, and we'll see if I could get some clarification before the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Kaiser. We'll move along to another change in professional service position roster. It's just a title, but Ms. Palachuk, if you would take this away.
Certainly. Thank you, Trustee Cushman. In your packet, you have a resolution to approve a change in title. This is for an existing position that was vacated by a previous employee, and the marketing department is looking to do this title change to broaden the scope and potentially attract a better pool of candidates now that they're looking to refill this position. Any questions about this revised title?
See any questions? It's pretty straightforward. Modernizing our titles makes good sense. Any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
George, you went on mute?
Thank you, Dr. Nye. I'm working a little left-handed here today with stuff, and I've got a gas leak that they're working on right outside my door. Just got me just a little bit nervous. Moving into a strategic thought presentation on future forward presentation. Dr. Nye, I know that you, I think you initiated this, if I'm not mistaken, this initiative. And I was wondering if there's any thoughts you have for perspective or context before the presentation begins.
Well, Trustee Cushman, thank you very much. You have a number of the future forward folks on here, Ryan McCabe, Kristen Mccarty, Trevor, I got Gina Lee, I've got Todd Sloan, Trevor Johnson Stiegelman. Sometimes it's long for me to try to put the whole thing out there and talk fast, Trevor. and we have Lisa Thomas, and we have Jamie Rotter that are here. And they're going to take about 10 minutes each. I'm going to ask you, please keep it about 10 minutes, you know, a couple minutes out extra is okay for each one. I'm very proud personally and professionally of the work these folks have done. And I need them to know that the board was so excited. They really wanted to hear this, that it couldn't even wait till October for a board retreat. And so it's very exciting to have them talk to you about where are some areas where we can be innovative and harness our college resources in imaginative ways to do great things for our college. I just like to ask one thing. In all fairness, there's been one group that's always gone last and they kind of run out of time a little bit. So I'd like to ask if they could just go first. We kind of semi-reverse the order and we'll go 4, 1, 2, 3 to allow Kristen the honor from her team to be able to talk because she's always gone last and she got shortchanged and her boss let me know about it. So I said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. So Trustee Cushman, if that's okay, we'll go group 4, 1, 2, 3.
I think that makes great sense. Really excited about that. And Dr. Nye, I think with the length of this this particular session, perhaps we would have the trustees hold their questions until each of those presentations is done, and then we can move on to the next one. Would you agree that would be the best way to proceed?
This Rob, I'd say yes. And I would like to say one thing that I told these folks. This is the biggest and longest brief we've allowed. That's how excited you all were. So it's like we're going to create the most time for this briefing. So I'm really thankful for this from everyone. I'll be quiet now.
Thank you. And it was fascinating reading, and I'm real excited to hear from everybody. Kristen, let's kick us off.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nye, throwing me for a loop here. I appreciate it. Thank you all for having me. I'm Kristen Mccarty, Director of Marketing and representing Task Force 4. I will share my presentation. Okay, here we go. So our group consisted of myself, Bree Chupalio, who's our Director of Development, Sam Samantha, professor in the Science and Technology Department, and Matt Stever, Director of Admissions. And we were tasked with thinking about how we can expand our sphere of influence and reputation in regional and national markets. And our team met several times as we were asked to do and really brainstormed a lot of different topics related to this really heavy thought process here, your reputation, your influence. These are really big, big concepts for an institution to consider. And as we were brainstorming different ideas, really a common theme continued to emerge for all of us. And that was the importance of our public website, the impact that our public website has on our ability to communicate our institutional values, our offerings, our services, to our greater communities, and to also attract new audiences to us as well. So we decided to present our overarching idea that we should embark upon a redesign of our FLCC.edu public website and also migrate our infrastructure to a content management system. We truly believe that our website is our #1 marketing tool. It's often the first point of contact and our first impression that people have of our institution, no matter how they hear about us first. It's where they go to validate the information that they have received, either through word of mouth, through hearing about us from a friend, through our advertising or PR efforts, or other ways that they come to know about us. It also drives much of our recruitment activity and next steps for various populations as well. It helps people learn about us, discover educational pathways they didn't know possible, and really positions us as a premier option to achieve educational goals in our region. So the design, the function, the usability, and discoverability, meaning how people find us, become vital to for us to effectively communicate our influence regionally and then also nationally as well for our online programs. And I'll talk just a minute about what a content management system is when we talk about the infrastructure piece. It is a software system that we would employ that would help us create, manage, and modify content on the website. And just as a sense of comparison and a sense of place of where we're at now, our current website is a homegrown solution that requires much technical expertise to edit and maintain, especially for projects and pages that are very complex. Our wonderful staff member who is in charge of the website has complex knowledge of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, and all of the web languages that power our website right now. And so by moving to a content management system, it really gives us a structured environment to allow more authors and more people to be able to update our website without needing to write code and without that technical expertise that is needed right now to make modifications. It also allows our content and our assets to be managed in a common interface. It allows us to template our information to have a uniform look and feel so that pages and navigation is intuitive for our users, which right now we suffer from multiple templates that kind of jostle people around the site. Sometimes our navigation is at the top, sometimes it disappears and goes to the left, so it helps create some usability as well. It also allows us to have better integrations with all of the different applications that we use at FLCC. So being able to better integrate our website with our Slate CRM tool, which Matt uses in admissions, our social media channels, and then our enterprise systems as well. In addition to being able to better produce and to publish our FLCC news feature as well, to really make sure that the great stories of our institution are broadly available throughout the web experience. And finally, moving to a content management system is really a best practice. Of the 64 SUNY campuses in our system, 55 of them use some form of a CMS system. So moving in this direction would really put us in a strong position. Further, we will be able, through a CMS and through a redesign, to better target all of the populations we serve. And we serve a lot of them. The website right now is for our high school population, our adult student population, online learners, for credit and non-credit learners, our community members, and also our current students. So without a current student intranet, our current students are relying on our website for information about registering for classes and next steps that they need to take as a student. We also can more clearly define our program modalities and pathways. Our institution truly provides a path for every purpose. So we now offer in-person and hybrid and high flex and all kinds of different ways to earn an education so students can fit going to school into their busy life. The next couple bullets down really talk about the ease of finding our website and happening upon us. So enhancing the navigation, a CMS will help improve our search engine rankings because we can pay better attention to the content on the page to make sure we are being served up organically when people Google, and just really make sure that we are coming to the forefront of searchability and discoverability. It will also help boost ROI for marketing and recruitment campaigns, which obviously I would be very excited about in our area. There's a marriage that needs to take place, and a strong one, between the advertising experience and the website experience, so that a person clicking on our ad and expressing interest is immediately brought to the area of the website that is most relevant to them. It will seamlessly integrate us with our Slate CRM system, which is the main driver responsible for our admissions funnel. And as I mentioned before, will remove many technical hurdles that we currently face with updating the website. And then finally, it'll give our internal population more of a stronger voice. We will be able to expand authoring and publishing ability so that it's not just our office who will be maintaining the thousands of pages that we have on the website right now. And then finally, I will just wrap with a rough timeline as to how we would see this project to fruition. We believe that the project is a 2 to 3 year endeavor, with year one really being a research and an auditing phase. We need to understand our user experience. We need to understand our information architecture, which is your main navigation and what needs to go at the top and what needs to go on the bottom and where are people going first and second, to really make sure that we are making informed decisions. This could include usability testing, surveying, and many other types of ways we can understand the landscape. And the information that we receive from that experience can help inform really implementing the project, which would happen in the years next. We would conduct a RFP. We would try to partner with a strong vendor who has done this before, who has worked with community colleges and higher education enterprises, and really help us develop the product to the end. And then ongoing support, we would just throughout this process ensure that we have the appropriate staffing, we are prepared for future customization, major version updates that a CMS might require, and then making sure we are prepared to help support and train users in the end. So thank you very much for your time. As Dr. Nye said, we can hold questions until the end of all of the presentations, but thank you very much for letting me go first. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kristen. Fantastic. So we will hold off until the end of the presentations. Hope you're taking some notes like I am. Move to Trevor Johnson-Stiegelman. Trevor?
Hello.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, great. So make sure my slides come up. Okay, can you see those? Excellent, thank you. So I'm Trevor Johnson-Stiegelman. I'm a physics professor here at Finger Lakes. The other folks on my team are Jennifer Carney, Ryan McCabe, and Cheryl Ten Eyck. So we played around with several ideas and we finally settled, I wouldn't say settled, but we finally decided to focus on looking at a new scheduling system here at Finger Lakes. So the reason we wanted to do this is we want to have flexibility for our students. We want to make it easier for them to get into Finger Lakes and to graduate out of Finger Lakes. Our groups are starting to trend a little older, so we want to make sure that we have adult-friendly scheduling. And at the same time, we also want to make sure that our faculty are getting great professional development. And things have changed, so people are looking for a different experience, and hopefully this new system would allow us to do that. So the system that we came up with is a 7.5 week semester. So traditionally, a regular semester is about 15 weeks. We're looking at cutting that down a little bit and making the calendar into 6 of these sessions. So here's January, February, March, April, May, June, and so on throughout. And you can see here the different colors are the different sessions that we would run. And these would all typically start on a Tuesday and end on a Wednesday. So we wouldn't have a situation where we're starting each semester on a different day of the week. And there's a lot of other benefits that can come out for this. It allows students to go potentially year-round. So a summer semester would be the same as a regular semester. So it's not compacted or anything like that. Most students would, if we looked at a a regular session, it would be 4 of these 6 blocks. And that would be true for faculty as well as for students who want to go in quote unquote a normal type of an experience. Okay, the biggest advantage of this is it gives the potential for students to go a bit faster through. Since we're offering more opportunities throughout, they could take sessions throughout the year and perhaps graduate within a year and a half instead of the traditional 2 years. Students who decide to come to FLCC would have more opportunities to start. For example, if a student decides next week they would like to go to college, they're really going to have to wait until January to start. Under this new system, they would be able to start in October or early November. Also, it gives students a chance to graduate and perhaps get out into the workforce a little bit sooner. And each session, as I mentioned, would be consistent. Right now, we have 15-week semesters, 4-week semesters, 6-week semesters, and faculty member who is teaching one of these has to adjust for that timeline while still delivering the same program. So there are a lot of places that are doing this. In the notes that I gave you, you should be able to follow the links out to these. But Ivy Tech Community College is one that does this. Okay, some other ideas with this: it would give faculty members fewer preps, as well as students fewer classes that they would be taking, which would allow them to focus a little bit more. As I mentioned, a normal load would be 4 semesters. And the big thing that faculty get out of this is, right now, professional development is something that is certainly encouraged, but it is difficult for a faculty member to fit in a regular semester, regular professional development. One of the ideas, one of the semesters would be partial, focusing a little bit more on advising and a little bit more on professional development. So during the normal load throughout the year, a faculty member could actually take a course as one of their load segments. Okay, as I mentioned, classes would typically run Tuesday to Friday. That would allow us to have meetings on Monday, as well as organizations and clubs could do that. We could put Laker Day on a Monday. Right now, I love Laker Day, but it typically falls in a point where my Tuesday classes are canceled for that week. So it kind of throws the schedule off. And if that's not always in the same week, I have to rearrange my labs and other things like that. We could also do professional development on Mondays as well. So if we have a speaker come in, they could come in on a Monday. Every faculty member would be able to do that because we wouldn't have to slip out of classes to do that. And we could also do our governance meetings, department meetings, and so on a Monday. Right now, we often jump in and out of meetings and then rush right to class. So as I said, these start on Tuesday and on Wednesday, consistent throughout. The only holidays that we really have to worry about would be 4th of July and Juneteenth, because those ones move around. We did leave a spot for Thanksgiving week because a lot of students take off on Monday anyway for that. And as you see, our spring semester would end in April, which would allow students kind of a leg up on some other colleges who might not graduate till later in May. Okay, students would normally take 5 to 6 classes. They could now take 2 to 3 classes per term. So they could focus down in on those. It is happening quicker, but they wouldn't have as many courses to go through at the same time. And there's a lot of details here in these slides of, different examples that could happen, but we have tried to work these out so that students would have lots of options of how to go through. And again, they could take up to 18 classes per year and get to not quite the total that they would need to graduate in 2 years. It would probably take a semester or 2 beyond the single year to do it comfortably. Okay, we're looking at 2-hour class blocks or 1.5-hour blocks to fit the right number of Carnegie hours into the 7 weeks. And we could put these blocks in a system where we've got 6 of them throughout the day. There's a couple of ways we could rearrange them. My preference is to have 4 during regular business hours and 2 in the evening, giving adult learners a little bit more flexibility and students the opportunity to perhaps drop their students off at school and then start, or be done in the afternoon so that they can get home when their high school and elementary school students get home. Okay, so as I said, we could have a total of 6 blocks. Most faculty members and most students would use 3 blocks of this. That gives quite a bit of flexibility for study time, for part-time jobs, and other things like that. Okay, so there are a lot of details that would be necessary with this. I don't want to say that we have everything worked out. We would need to get other buy-in from our Senate, the College Council, Faculty Alliance. There would be some budgetary things that would come into play. There would be some contract things that would come into play for this. We need to form some committees to figure out how are things like financial aid affected? How would departments schedule throughout the year for these? And then start some professional development on moving to this type of instruction. And the other thing I would like to do is actually plan a September vacation for the first time in my life. If I pick 4 other sessions that aren't in September. So thank you for your time. I'm sure you'll have plenty of questions. I look forward to attempting to answer those.
George, you're on mute again.
Thank you, Trevor. And those links are very helpful. They support a lot of empirical evidence that this has benefits. So I hope everybody had a chance to look through that. We'll move on to Jamie Rotter.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. And I am hopeful my slides are coming up. We're good. Okay, so I represent Group 2, which is comprised of David Gaidu, Clinton Krager, Carrie Kruger, Kim Noyce, and of course myself as faculty members. And what we started to look at was how we could leverage expertise of the college using some of the technological advances that we've seen recently. And so that is the crux of our presentation here. There were a couple of ideas, and again, to give, certainly appropriate homage to the work of our group here, we did have some other things that we realized were kind of being done in other places, but were very valid ideas nonetheless. So I'd at least like to mention them. The two things, one is kind of happening already through our Office of Disability Services. And we explored really creating greater opportunity for neurodiverse students to access some of our offerings, perhaps using a series of FLCC experiences that they could certainly use to explore possible education and career options. In the culinary the program, we certainly have had some students take advantage of that already, and it was rewarding for those students as well as faculty. So we believe that that potential exists, and we're very excited that that's happening in other places on our campus. The other idea that we explored, and I believe Group 3 will talk a little bit more about that, is the idea of micro-credentialing and the ability to take specific coursework that would make it possible for employees to develop specific skill sets quickly to advance their careers. So those are really some solid ideas that our group came up with, and certainly I feel that they bear some mention here. The idea that we spent the most time on is putting community back a little bit in community college. Part of our strategic plan is obviously connecting to the greatest degree possible our community and our college. And the realization through technology that we've kind of really had to use through COVID is that community can be actually much bigger than we thought possible. Okay. These offerings could have a very wide range, from single session experiences to a series of experiences. And they may include things like classroom lectures and demos, but may also include going out and doing things that are beyond the walls of our college. Again, we want to establish an ongoing and evolving program, okay, both one session and multi-session community education and enrichment experiences for, again, our local community. It's interesting to note here as well that part of what SUNY is very interested in is creating more opportunities for experiential learning. That is learning for students beyond the classroom necessarily. And we feel that this particular idea lends itself well to that, okay, as well. Again, examples of what those experiences may be are lectures, demonstrations, blogs, workshops, and even some excursions. Those could be led by faculty, staff, or even community members. In sitting around and discussing some of these ideas, just the wide array of talent that this community is blessed to have is really, frankly, quite striking. And so how do we share that? And we felt that our college would be a terrific way to do that. Some examples of other places and what they are doing. I apologize for the small font. See if I can blow that up a bit. Just a list, and we came up with quite a wide array of things, but just some examples that we were looking at. The idea of doing a pre-assignment training for security guards, medication administration for non-medical caregivers, a beginner's guide to getting published. So many people are self-publishing these days. What does that really look like? Craft beer brewing workshop. There may be a couple of folks on the call today that could possibly teach something like that. Crafting your short story or novel, full foliage photography. The list goes on and on. Again, many advantages here. To us, the greatest opportunity is to use these sessions as live, evolving ways to market our programs and our college, okay? And another distinct advantage would be to link people that have much to contribute to our institution with those people who, again, could use those relationships to improve the college. I teach some of these types of experiences through New York Kitchen, teaching classes, food classes, cooking classes to the public. And it's quite striking how many people we run across there and how many students have come up to me and said, I'm not sure that you remember me, but I met you at one of those public classes. And that's how I ended up here. So we've really saw that the power behind that could really be quite significant. Implementation, our campus center directors put out a request for some proposals to do this kind of work. Again, it doesn't need to be housed necessarily on our main campus. This could also help to further utilize those campus centers. But to realize the full potential of those possibilities, again, they would need to be housed and marketed in a single place. We would recommend coming up with an office that would handle those sorts of things. Perhaps that could be part, again, of our continuing ed department. We would ask for input that way. Well-organized, easy to understand model, both for the people that are taking the classes to find these opportunities easily, to be able to sign up for those opportunities easily, but also to be able to draw the people that are going to direct those experiences in. Okay. Of course, we always thought a little bit about barriers to growth. Okay. There's an idea out there, I think, that such programming, again, is kind of small potatoes. But really, if you're looking at the bigger picture for the college, we really felt as a group that the large rewards that are possible there kind of offset the idea, okay, of these being small potatoes. I don't think that the college as a whole is going to make a ton of revenue or generate a ton of revenue all the time based on these. But again, if we could get the word out, okay, to somebody's parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle who may have an experience with us here, that could mean that their student that they're familiar with could end up enrolling in our programs as a full-time student. And again, the conclusions that are out there. We as a group, again, feel that the strengths of this idea obviously outweigh its weaknesses. It is in line with the college's current strategic plan and certainly aligns well with current SUNY initiatives and proposals. And again, the program is an evidence-based practice that really embodies the college's commitment to diversity and inclusion within our community and beyond. And again, would be an important embodiment of the college's overall mission within our community. The college should be a focal piece to our community, we believe. And with some people, it certainly is, but we feel that there is considerable room for growth there. Thank you.
Very much, Jamie. And our final presentation, Todd Sloan.
Hello, everyone. This is Todd Sloan. I'm with Future Forward Group 3, formerly known as, no, we're the new Group 4. So hopefully y'all can see that okay. Give me a nod. Thank you very much, Jamie. I appreciate that. So Future Forward Group 3, our charge was to focus on the workforce needs of the next decade and areas for entrepreneurial revenue generation. I'm just going to set my timer here so I don't go over. Our team was we had a nice kind of a diverse team as far as the college goes. And our team members are here. We had Isaac Grooms from Health and Human Performance, Beth Johnson from Visual and Performing Arts, Gina Lee in Viticulture, myself, and Lisa Thomas from Academic Success and Access Programs. And Lisa and I will be co-presenting tonight. We made some minor updates to the slides, so if you want to get the latest version you're seeing tonight, there's a link here for those. And with that said, I'm actually going to just turn it over to Lisa for the first part of the presentation. So Lisa, take it away and feel free to give me a holler if I'm going too slow with the slides.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So we wanted to talk about the who, what, when, where, why. But first we wanted to address the need. So we know that economic mobility, of course, I'm sorry, my notes is up too high, and the Finger Lakes. 1 in 5 do not earn a living wage. And of course, we know that a living wage is defined as at or below 150% of the poverty line. So we know that some of our co-residents are definitely in need in the Finger Lakes. But yet, even though there's that need and that poverty level, there are some career-oriented jobs that are waiting to be filled by our in-demand sectors. So what can we do to make the need and the unmet need together? Go ahead. So an unmet need, we know that at FLCC, our core student population is our traditional age students. And we do very well in that. But we also know that those traditional age learners are declining in size, which shows our enrollment numbers. And that some say that for the next 19 years plus, that the traditional age students will decline further. So what's going to happen with that? So there is some unmet talent out there. Over 85% of our working age people in upstate New York are between 20 and 59 years old. So our goal is to make sure that those people between 20 and 59 make it easier for them to be potential learners and to participate in what we have to offer. Of course, we learned through our Bridges survey, rural survey in early spring of this year, we found that some of the common challenges for our non-traditional age students going back to work, of course, is access, work conflicts. They have childcare that they need to take care of, the distance. A lot of our target market live in rural areas where there's no transportation or there's no reliable transportation or not even public transportation to a work site. And of course, broadband access. We've increased it, of course, in our region, but still there are a lot of students that I personally know that do not have reliable broadband access. So there's a lot of jobs now that are work from home, but you have to have reliable internet. And a lot of those folks do not have reliable internet. So what does that mean? How can we bridge the gap between the need and the unmet need? And that's, of course, we came up with what we call breakaway education. It reduces or eliminates the challenges of work conflicts, childcare issues, transportation, and broadband access. And how we're going to do that? We're going to deliver flexible online courses in the workplace. So either while you're at your lunch or adjacent to your lunch hour, in between your lunch hours, we're going to offer classes or courses that will be provided with access by a local employer. So what does this look like? So like I said before, there's going to be a training space for employees to attend classes during a lunch hour, extended lunch hour, or shift change. All the tuition and fees will be covered via employer tuition assistance. So that takes care of the money part. And of course, they're going to be using our broadband access, which takes care of the internet part. So already we've knocked those challenges down. FLCC will provide the technology through learner laptops or mini synchronous classroom. And we'll also provide the curriculum, instruction, and support. So we're meeting all those needs right there. But another key is that the employers agree to have some of those spaces, some of those seats for those courses available to community members. And that goes back to what Jamie was saying about community education and opening up to the community and putting community back in community college. I feel like I'm talking really fast. I'm sorry, we're trying to make sure we make the time. Some of the benefits to employers, of course, is they have a recruitment, they have an onboarding tool. It makes it look interesting and enhances the attraction to those future employees and retention, because one thing we know is that as leaders, employees want to feel valued. They want professional development that makes them stay into their positions. It can be used to upskill, cross-train employees, thereby improving employee retention again, improving employee engagement and internal advancement. Another reason why employees stay with employers. And the tuition assistance is an employee tax deduction. So it's like a win-win-win for those employers.
1 second, Lisa, I lost my mouse here. Okay.
Find it. So go ahead. Who does this reach? It reaches new hires, of course, looking for employment, the underemployed, workers looking to advance, either a lateral move or upward. And additionally, open enrollment seating, it reaches the unemployed and underemployed individuals looking to move into an in-demand field or occupation. And lastly, by engaging community-minded employers, it enhances their and the college's community connectedness. We are a community college located in a community, supported by the community. So we have to think about that outreach to our community members as well.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, so the model, one of the things we liked about the model as we got thinking about it more, and we got some good feedback from the other teams as well, the other Future Forward teams, is that it's really quite scalable. So if we open a site at a certain employer in one of our areas that we know is a little more isolated geographically, not only can we grow that specific site, but because we're so good with hybrid at the college and online instruction, we can actually scale this by opening multiple sites, and essentially these clusters then all work together towards meeting minimum enrollments and being able to field classes, which obviously helps with access in general. So these are just a couple graphics on what scaling looks like. The initial idea and the name Breakaway Learning that we that we came up with was having to do with breaks at an employer. But then we realized, and as we talked to some of the other teams, this doesn't necessarily have to just be employer based. So obviously this can help us with our run rates at our campus centers as well by clustering those in. So now we have more access at our existing campus centers by including employers and the main campus in that minimum number for enrollment. And then community-based organizations. One of the organizations that a teammate identified was libraries. This is probably something would be very attractive to libraries, and they probably have the infrastructure to provide it. So really the specifics of how this would work, there are two approaches that we could take. We could literally have employers and sites look at our master schedule and choose which lunch times or which afternoon, evening times coincide with their shift changes and schedule from there. Or if it scaled up and grew, potentially employers or localities, different sites could identify the times that are convenient to their shift change, and we could open up specific sections for them. That's my 1 minute warning, folks. If you heard that, I got 60 seconds. The two models for how the college could provide infrastructure are based on a mini sync lab. We've already deployed these throughout COVID. This is essentially a large screen TV on a mobile cart with a computer attached to it that would allow 8 to 12 learners to view together the synchronous portion of their class. And then the second method would literally be by deploying laptops that could be either held at the site or that could be signed out to the learners, and they would come to the site if they don't have broadband access to attend class. We talked with IT about the approximate cost for this. It's obviously a pretty low cost approach. And if we tie the new sites into existing classes, then all of the new enrollment is new revenue. So the time to, I guess you might say the return on investment or the break-even time for it is quite short. If you open up new sites and new classes, the break-even time is a little bit longer. But it looks like if we run this anywhere, worst case scenario to best case scenario, if we ran between 2 and 8 classes at a site, we would have covered the costs of the infrastructure already. And obviously one of the nice things about the model is if a site doesn't work out, they aren't able to, and we aren't able to meet enrollment, we can literally take the equipment and move it to a new location. I've run at 10 minutes, so I'm just going to say that our next steps, we think really are primarily funding maybe 1 to 3 sites initially. We would want to roll it out gradually. Better to have success with a fewer number than launch a lot of sites and have some of them not run. But we know we have partner interest. We've done a survey in workforce development on that. And through the Bridges Rural Project, we have about a dozen employers who would be interested. They're interested in being a site for the Bridges project, but it is similar enough to this that we think we would probably have at least a few of those that would be interested in this model as well. And that's all I got. Thank you all.
Hey, Todd, we'll be opening this up for questions. And Todd, before we get on to the questions, I just have one comment, and that is that employers typically don't see the value in tuition reimbursement.
I lost your audio at the beginning there.
So employers don't always understand the return on investment for employer benefit of tuition reimbursement. I don't know if you're familiar with it. There was a study done about 5 or 6 years ago by Lumina with Cigna, where they actually broke it out, and it's, I think, 129%. So in other words, for every $1 of tuition reimbursement, they recover the $1 plus another $1.29 in return, which is better than anything I'm investing in right now. I can tell you that. So it may be good as you're trying to roll out this model and looking at the benefit to the employer to look at that study. Just a suggestion.
Thank you. No, that's excellent. I appreciate it because we see them all across the board. Some get it and some don't. So yeah, I will follow up on that and get that information. Appreciate it.
So other questions for the other, for Kristen, Trevor, Jamie, or Todd?
George, this is Joan.
Hi, Joan.
First of all, I'm very impressed by how thinking, out of the box and how flexible we might be able to become. And I think going forward, flexibility is the huge issue. I love, Trevor, your concept of the new schedule, both from a teaching standpoint and a student standpoint. We realize that our students come to us with multiple problems. Some of them do not retain and learn as easy as some of other students. And if they could stay in a program where they could still get a degree in 2 years, but only take 3 courses at a time, maybe over a 7-week block, their concentration, everything would be so much better. I can tell you that it would be very good. And also sometimes they do run into issues where they have to step back for a while. And instead of losing a whole semester, like maybe going 5 or 6 months without taking a course and losing them, they can pop back in 7 weeks. I think that's a really good concept, and I look forward to seeing how that's going to develop. Really like that. All the other concepts too, as I said, making everything more and more flexible. More and more online things that we know we have to do. So I guess I just only had comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. I actually have a friend who's taking classes at Grand Canyon University, and she ran into exactly that problem. She had something, it was a 2-week stint where things went bad all over. They run on a 7.5-week schedule, or it might be an 8-week schedule, but similar idea. And she was able to jump in the next session that started because everything, was only 2 weeks was all it took, but that's a huge chunk in the middle of a class where she was able to just jump in again. So that certainly does offer our students a lot of flexibility.
Trustee Cushman.
Yes.
I guess a general comment here. I'm really impressed with the elements of far-reaching thought process here. Yet there's, you apply this. There's something applicable about each of these concepts, and at the same time, there's an intersection of advancing the college in today's world and even beyond. Each of you have given that thought. At least I've seen it in your presentations here. And it's not just today, but what it will look like in the near and distant future. So in so many respects, bringing the community college more current from a competitive standpoint. So kudos to all of you for that. It's quite apparent there's been an awful lot of work done here. I do have a question for Kristen Mccarty with regard to the CMS system. I saw your timeline and so forth of 2 to 3 years. I'm just curious if you've maybe been able to get started on that in some respects and maybe look at other systems or even consider it in some way to fast track or even reduce that time frame to implement some of those fine ideas.
Great question. Our team is very eager to get started. We have at this point really been socializing the idea through the Future Forward Task Force and presenting to various groups and taking their questions. We are hoping for endorsement to move forward. Obviously, the timeline did come with some resources that we would need established to move forward in a way that leverages our internal team and also external resources we would need. But I feel very strongly our team can get started on the auditing and the research stage. We have a lot of great tools in place to already start thinking about the future. And as I said, our team is very eager to do that. And thank you to the board for approving our position earlier in the meeting. Being able to bring in another staff member will really help our team to accomplish these goals as well.
Thank you. And Trustee Cushman, if I could have just one more question to Professor Rotter. I think you're putting community into the college is really a PR extravaganza. I don't see it as small potatoes at all. And I guess my question, do you see some target groups such as seniors and so forth, an OSHA program, an OASIS program, something like that, that might benefit from some of your ideas?
Yes. You know, I think all of the above, you know, one of the neatest things, you know, I grew up in Casanova, and every semester and even over the summer, we would always get the catalog of what they were offering, you know, and it was really, really kind of neat, you know, to go through that and look at the way that they leverage that. And I just, there's so much in this community that I think could really, can really be shared. And the benefits to that are obviously just huge. But I think there are a lot of different constituencies that could really benefit from that.
Yeah, terrific. Thank you all.
Chairman Cushman, it's Jeff.
Jeff?
Yeah, first of all, a couple comments. One is Dr. Nye and anybody else who knows me, this kind of stuff really gets my adrenaline flowing. And this has been a superb presentation. I really appreciate the creativity and the forward thinking that's gone into this. And I think you've hit on some of the fundamental key elements that we're going to have to deal with going forward. One is connecting to the community better than we are currently. Two, establishing more flexibility and the systems to support that flexibility. And so, yeah, I want to thank each of the teams and the presenters in particular for the presentation this evening. A couple of questions. One goes to the management system, and Christine, and that is, I think I saw on one of the slides the fact that you included as part of the cost structure the fact that there will have to be some ongoing maintenance of any such system, including, I'm sure, software updates over time. I was in another discussion earlier today about the fact that homegrown, systems for institutions are really, really problematic because they're so specific and unique. And there's only usually one or two people in the whole institution that really knows how to make it work and to be able to manage it. And when those people leave, the system's efficiency really decreases substantially. So kudos to looking at some standardized systems and the idea that other people will supply the software updates. We won't have to create them on our own. The scheduling system was really fantastic. I mean, you talk about going outside the box and really trying to reinvent how we do things to meet the situation in today. I found that really interesting. I'd admit right up front, I don't thoroughly understand it all, but if you want to hook one student, you got me. I'd love to learn some more about it. The whole connection to the community in the last two presentations is really exciting. And I think there is a substantial opportunity. And as you work your way through those, there are probably some institutions or folks in the community that can help you leverage it. One of the first things when you're doing the presentation is I wrote down business tax credits, which you then brought up. But there may be opportunities to actually double up on those and create more than one tax credit. There's always whatever the state and federal systems are, but we have a substantial economic development office in operation in the county that may be able to, at least in Ontario County, may be able to leverage some additional credits or financial advantages for local businesses. The approach to solving the broadband access point of view by doing it at people's place of work is really unique, and I think has a great opportunity to leverage not only individual employees' technical knowledge, but the opportunity to then take that knowledge and use it in whatever industry they might want to work in the future. So all of that is great. So having said all that and prompted a few questions, there's one overriding one, and I don't really expect an answer tonight, but it might be more for Dr. Nye than each of you individually. Somebody needs to give some thought as to what the trustees can do to support this, not just by, doing what we do at board meetings, but how do we actively support some of these ideas as they get developed, especially with our ability individually to connect in our connections to the community. So it's just an overall question is, if I'm excited about the idea and the innovation that goes into the direction for the future. And besides just saying, great job, and we'll vote for it when it's time, there needs to be a role for us to play as well. And so, across all of these categories, somebody, including us as trustees, should give some thought to how we can actively support moving this forward and implementing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Barb, your hand raised?
Yes. Second what everybody else has said about the impressive presentations. It really makes me feel like the college is looking to the future, which is frankly something I've been worried about. But speaking to Jamie's group, it offers incredible development fundraising opportunities. And maybe that's some way, Jeff, that some of us in that field would be happy to be active with. So kudos to all of you.
Other questions for the presenters? This was a strategic thought presentation that was truly strategic. Change is difficult, and getting as strategic as this for the future is Barb.
Oh, we lost you.
George, we've got two people with questions still too.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did not see that. Go ahead. Who's got questions?
Santa.
Santa.
I can go. That's okay. Again, I echo what everyone else has said about the presentations. They were fabulous. So thank you. A lot of thought and initiative went into them, and it showed. Trevor, real quick regarding the new scheduling. Do you intend to survey students? And you may not know the answers, which is fine, but do you intend surveying the students to get their thoughts on this? And the reason why I ask is, although it looks good on paper, I'm just curious with those non-traditional students who may work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or who may work Tuesday, Thursday. I just wonder how this type of schedule would impact those students who know, they have a set schedule, they schedule their work schedule around their classes, and it's just something to think about. I would just, just keep that in mind, I guess.
Yeah, we would certainly keep those types of things. We would be looking at, talking to students, talking to faculty members. It's not something that we just want to say, okay, this is the way it's going to be. We're looking for feedback as we go.
No, I echo everyone's sentiments. A really great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Santa. And Donna, I see your hand. I don't see everybody, but I saw that. Great.
Thank you very much. And again, as all of my colleagues have said, this was a fabulous presentation. So thank you for your time and your efforts. I did have an idea in my mind that after listening to the presentations, I would rank them in my mind personally. And I want you to know that I can't. And I am hoping that without biting off more than we can chew, that we can proceed with all of the ideas, because all of them seem to be directly in support of our community college mission. They all serve as dynamic learning resources. They all are empowering students to succeed, and they all fuel cultural and economic vitality of the regions that we serve. So kudos to you for being so strategic as far as forward thinking. I also take to heart the point that Lisa brought up, which is that within the next 2 decades, the non-traditional student is non-existent, and we cannot keep doing the same things over and over again. So thank you for once again pointing out what is so easy to want to forget. And Trevor, I wanted to mention that I had attended a national conference through ACCT, the American Association of Community Colleges, during the pandemic. A session that Ivy Community College presented. And at the time, I remember thinking how very creative and innovative they were, but there was no way that FLCC could be at a point where we could do anything resembling that. And to hear you talk about this in such a very specific, doable way gives me great hope for us to actually not just talk about things, but to be able to put some things into practice. And I, again, 100% support what Jeff has said, that I think every board member would like to be able to actively be engaged in supporting the work that's being done. So however, whatever recommendations you would have for that, I think we would all be very open to. Again, thank you so much. And we look forward to next steps.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a good team here at the college. I think, looking for input, and our group talked to people outside of our group, bounced ideas off. So yeah, we're looking forward to moving forward.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions, comments? Again, Dr. Nye, thank you for your leadership in empowering these folks to bring forward these ideas. This has just been fantastic. Thank you all. Before we adjourn, I wanted to ask Dr. Kaiser if he has an answer. Put you on the spot, Jonathan.
I do, and I mentioned that in the chat. Trustee Mahalik, you generated a buzz among many people. So we've reached out to the chair of Academic Senate and discussed among our the provost team. It is certainly an officer, a generic term considered as a representative of the college. In fact, I did a little bit of research, and it's actually that exact sentence has been lifted from the 1940s AAUP statement on academic freedom and has been retained in their statements on academic freedom since 1940. I think AVP Cassie Kent had the best analogy. She described it as an attorney is considered an officer of the court, and as such, they're obligated to hold up the values of the court. The analogy would be that a faculty member is a steward of our curriculum and obligated to hold up the values of the institution as such. I hope that has fully addressed the question.
I I certainly did not mean to create such consternation, but I do appreciate the analogy. Please thank Cassie. That helps put it in perspective to think of it as a representative college that has obligations.
Great.
Thank
you.
All the way back to the 40s. Thank you, Dr. Kaiser. I will now take a motion to adjourn. From anyone, a motion?
This is Joan. I move we adjourn.
Thank you,
Real
Joan.
quick,
A second?
before we do we need to approve the minutes from August, or do we do that in the
We
consent agenda?
typically don't ever vote on that.
On the
That would be
minutes?
at the
Okay.
consent agenda.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Sorry. Thanks. Okay, I second.
Thank you, Santa. And all in favor of adjourning, say aye or acknowledge.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? None? I will move the floor to Trustee Cass. It's all yours.
Thank you, Trustee Cushman. Call to order the Finance and Facilities Committee meeting for September 1st. Ask if there's any additions or corrections to the minutes. There being none, Mr. Rathman, the operating budget update and finance report.
All right, thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen so that I can pull up the finance report. Is my screen being shared at this moment? There we go. Okay, there we go. So here is the financial report for month ending July 31st, 2021. Because it's a July 31st report, this does not represent the approved amendment to the operating budget that was approved in the August board meeting. So I just want to make that clear as we review this data. Fiscal year is 91.5% complete as of this report. The revenue for as of July 31st is at 100.5% of the projected budget compared to last year, which was about 90.7%. That difference there is accounted for additional state aid that we received, as well as the federal stimulus funds received throughout the course of the year. On the expense side, for month end July 31st, we are at 88.2% of the budget. Compared to last year, which was about 91.5% of the budget. The decrease in variance is just due to conservative spending due to the COVID environment that we were in over the past fiscal year. The projection column is based on a percent of the prior year final budgeted actuals. And the projections are resulted in a projected amount of about $3.789 million moving into the fund balance. And this projections will be affected by the additional allocation of the CARISA funds. One thing that I would like to mention about the projected year-end funds, I'm not a big proponent of this, and I'll explain why. With the projection being based on a percentage of prior year actuals, if we take an example here with this fees line here, if we look at this line here, we currently have a year-to-date ending July of $2.232 million in fees as part of the revenue stream. That represents 108.5% of the year-to-date budget. This number here, 2.202 million, is based on this 101% of actuals from last year. So that's taking this number, 2.232 million, dividing it by the 101%, and that actually gives us a projected year end that is less than our current actual revenues received. So in this scenario, we're giving back $30,000 in fees, when in actuality, that is not accurate. So my suggestion is to kind of, unless there's some objection, is to remove the projected year end. It's kind of the monthly expenses are pretty stable over month to month throughout the course of the fiscal year. And if you look at this 91.5% of fiscal year complete, that is a good baseline when we're talking about percentage of year to date to the budget and the expenses to compare it by. this column, the projected column, it's just a calculated number that can or should not be manipulated, but in this case should have been to accurately reflect what our actual projected year end would be. And so, my goal is to have every financial report coming out of my office to be recreatable within 6 months, 1 year, or 3 years down the road. We should not have reported data that is manipulated to achieve desired results. So my approach would be to remove this column and kind of expand the revenues and expenditures a little bit more to provide a little bit greater detail into those lines. I'd also want to add a grant line, revenues received from grants, and also expenditures from those grants, because that is also in addition to our budgeted revenues and expenditures over the course of the fiscal year. And those are some of the things that I hope to be working on moving forward in the next Board of Trustees financial report. And again, the idea is to provide a report that is more accurate, recreatable, and not manipulated to a number that I put in there that can't be kind of explained if I were not around to answer that. So I'll turn it over for any questions or comments at this time.
Yes, Adam, Steve here. I'm intrigued by your suggestion, and one that's certainly worthy of looking at. I'm just wondering if it's an opportunity to take that to the full Finance Committee and have a continued discussion, if you will. I like your suggestion, but certainly there might be others that have some thoughts that would be beneficial. So I might suggest that as we consider some robust Finance Committee meetings, even away from prior board meetings like this, that might be a topic to pursue.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Steve, I would agree with you. I think that's the place for us to do it is at our Finance Committee meeting. Any other questions? Hey, Adam, are you going to be doing the facilities report?
Yes, I am. So let me stop sharing real quick. I have invited Kathy to present at these meetings as requested. However, she had a prior family commitment, so she could not be here this evening. So I will be providing that update. In your packet is what she had submitted to me. So the first one is the nursing project, phase 1 substantial completion. It was done at the target date of August 20th. The final bed and equipment into the space moved in the week of August 23rd, and classes began on this past Monday. And so far, everything has gone smoothly in those spaces. The Wellness Center and marketing areas, they are complete. And again, they were operational for the first day of classes on Monday. And the HoloLens, we are just waiting for monitors from the vendors. Everything else at this point is complete.
Adam, this is Rob. I want to tell the board, I think we need to allow you the opportunity once the HoloLens is complete. You need to see the changes that have been done. Jonathan and I were up there recently, and what's been done is absolutely phenomenal. It looks like a very high professionally developed location for this activity to go, and you'd be very proud of it. So somehow we have to figure out a way for y'all to see the new revised location. It's exceptional.
Field trip.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Just one quick question, and that is, as we are winding down the project, how did we do against the project budget?
That is not something that I have an answer to at this point, but I can certainly get some information on that.
Whenever it's appropriate. I was just curious, whether there were any specific item cost overruns and obviously, did we stick to the budget we originally set out for it?
Yep.
That's it.
Yep,
Thank you.
I'll absolutely get that information for you.
Anyone else? Okay, we have some resolutions. Adam, the 2020-2021 mid-year operating chargeback rate increase.
Yeah, so in front of you is a resolution to approve unbilled operating chargeback rates to be covered by the Higher Education Emergency Relief Funds. The operating chargeback rate was adjusted over the course of the past month or so, and the unbilled amount is specified at just over $409,000. Now, the background on this is originally last year, the state aid was projected to be at about 20% cut. Over the course of the fiscal year, the state aid was only cut at about 5%. Because of that change in that appropriation, there was an adjustment to the chargeback formula. And because of that, there were adjustments to the actual chargebacks that were charged to the other counties. We have decided, as well as other community colleges in the state, that we have the ability to use the HERF funds to cover that shortfall, so that we do not have to go back to those counties and ask them for additional funding because of the added state funding aid that we did receive throughout the fiscal year.
Questions?
I have not a question, just a comment. I hope we make it very clear to those counties what we're doing. I think it's wonderful that we did that. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Anyone else? Okay, and the next one is to approve additional audit fees for procedures during the FLCC external audit for fiscal year 19-20.
Yeah, so this is a resolution for these additional fees. This was first brought up last month, and the Bonadillo had approached the college to which an additional billing of $26,000 for the additional auditing responsibilities that they had throughout the course of the fiscal year. So we got some more information from them, and that is included here in the resolution. I'll just highlight it real quick. Some of the additional services include significant partner time devoted to bank reconciliations, material account reconciliations, investigating material account differences, proposing multiple adjusting journal entries, and resolving open items regarding financial aid. There was also additional time incurred by the partner for assisting management with COVID-19 and higher education emergency relief funds matters, which were not part of the original proposal. As you know, at that time, we weren't there. The federal relief funds weren't being discussed as an audit matter. After some negotiation between Dr. Nye and Bonadillo, they came to an agreement that we were going to split that cost. So we've come to an agreement that we're going to pay $13,000 for the additional fees, not the $26,000 that they proposed. So that's what this resolution is for.
Questions?
Nice job on the negotiations, everybody.
Okay, the next one is approve the 2020-2021 operating budget amendment number 1 grants.
So this resolution is to adjust the operating budget to recognize the grants that we received throughout the course of the fiscal year. The grants are listed. The total throughout the course of the fiscal year is $1.4 million. And this is just to adjust the operating budget to reflect that and to be able to recognize the expenses against it.
Questions?
I do. Where has this been located before? You talk about a separate line for grants. Where have these dollars been housed before, or maybe recognized in the overall financial picture?
Christine, are you on to be able to answer that?
I am. Hi, Steve. Our grants have always been recorded as restricted accounts, and they're run through a separate fund. So they're run through Fund 3. Once the grant's awarded, the department in Fund 3 set up and maintained. Then at the end of each academic year, every new grant award is put together and presented as a resolution to amend to the operating budget.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay, Adam, bid renewal for minor maintenance of walls containing asbestos.
Yeah, this is the resolution for renewal of minor maintenance services walls containing asbestos, bid B19056 for AAC contracting. It's for a 12-month period at the allowable CPI price index increase of 5.38%. It's an annual cost not to exceed $5,000, and this is the second and final renewal for a 12-month period from September 7th of this year to September 6th of next year.
Questions?
I do, yes. The consumer price index at 5.38%. That seems a little high to me. Just wondering where that index is aligned to.
It does seem high. I don't have an answer to that right now. I don't know if Christine, do you have any insight into that or not? If not, we can definitely get some answers on that.
I believe that those price increases are laid out in the initial award of the contract. So that increase may have been stipulated at the time of the award. We can look back at the contract and it'll give us more specific information on that and get back to you with more details.
And is this a bid renewal that we really need to move on this month, or can it be postponed? I mean, to be honest with us and candid here, I'm just curious.
Seeing as how this is for minor maintenance, I don't see any concerns possibly putting it off for a month. It's for services not to exceed, so we're not on a specific contract.
Sure,
it's
sure.
on an as-need basis.
And I'm okay with the it's $5,000. So we're not talking a lot of money here, but yeah, if you could just investigate the 5.38%, I'd appreciate some feedback. Otherwise, I'll support this. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Anyone else?
Jeff, you're on mute. Jeff, you're on mute.
Sorry. This is a not to exceed contract and it's a renewal. So I assume that in prior years, we've had not to exceed amounts as well.
Yep.
So the first question is, did we spend all that money each year? And the related question is, if we did not, what happens to the excess funds that we budget? I don't need an answer now. I'm just curious. I'm like Steve.
Okay. I'll get you some answers on that. And
Yeah,
unless
thank
Christine
you.
has that data for you, but I'll get some specifics on the past year's expenditures and what happened to the balance.
Yeah, and I'm not terribly worried about the specific numbers. I'm more interested if there's money left over, what do we do with it?
Anyone else?
Thank you.
John Taylor, renewal agreement for Frilly for information technology support.
Thank you, Trustee Cass, and good evening, everybody. Before you is a resolution to renew an agreement with Frilly. We've done this agreement with them since 2016, so 5 years. And in 2016, we spent $80,000 for their service. This is for expert programming for the colleague database. And just to give you an idea, in this past year, we needed them to help us with the preferred name, which is the institutionally recognized name programming. It's very complicated programming that touched an awful lot of different modules. And also our pyramid integration and our year-end closing. Those activities end up requiring expert programming help from them. This year, we had $20,000 budgeted, so the amount has gone way down. But in the meantime, Frilly decided to change their agreement so that there's an emergency clause now that affects us. And the emergency clause is that if we don't notify them 72 hours before we need them, they charge us $300 an hour. And I was not pleased, as you can imagine, about that. And so we are looking at alternative vendors right now. In the meantime, we've got some important things coming up like year end and some other stuff. And so we reduced this down to $6,800 and we'd like to renew this agreement for $6,800 this year and look to an alternative vendor for the balance, which would be about $13,200. We have one in mind right now. We're researching them. Look to be the only other vendor besides Ellucian themselves. Ellucian's $213 an hour. So we'll continue to look for help. Just to be clear here, the non-emergency rate remains at $195 an hour. That's what it's been ever since 2016. So, take any questions?
Oh, again, thanks for the due diligence and the extra investigation, John.
Absolutely, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, John. Who will be doing this, the next resolution? Adam, is that for you?
Yes, the authorization to accept a contract for grant development support services. So this is to accept a contract with Brockport Research Institute, BRI Consultancy. They've been providing support to the college and determined there is a continued need. Last year, there was a proposal or resolution put forward for a $60,000 contract with BRI. Of that $60,000, they've spent about $25,000 on contract support services. So this is to carry forward that balance into the next fiscal year. There is an open position for a grant specialist, grant writing specialist, that has been approved by in the fiscal year budget. So once that position is filled, the requirement or the need for a grant development support services will not be there. So this is just for a continuation until that position is filled.
Questions? Donna?
This is not related directly to this resolution, but as we're talking about grants, and we talked about grants earlier in the budget, the way that we take a look at them. I had actually written on my notes, grants, ? On the budget page. The good news is that we seem to be doing a lot better with getting grants. My question, and I suppose it would be to the Finance and Facilities Committee, is would you be able to look at the sort of year-to-year progression of what we're doing, rather than just get a lump sum of how much came in this year, to be able to compare it to previous years and being able to perhaps plan into the future of what we're doing strategically with grants or for grants or around grants. I'd just like to be able to put it in better context.
I think it's a great idea, Donna. I'll make sure, to the best of my ability, we get that done.
Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt you, Adam.
Any other questions? Okay, the next resolution, Ms. Polochek, approve a rollover agreement of the collective bargaining agreement between Ontario County Board of Supervisors, Finger Lakes Community College, and the Professional Association.
Yes, thank you, Trustee Cass. You have the resolution that you just mentioned, and as you're aware, our collective bargaining agreements expired yesterday. So negotiating teams representing the county, the college, and the Professional Association have met and have reached agreement on terms and conditions of employment for the period covering September 1st, 2021 through and including August 31st, 2022. And so the resolution that you have before you is requesting your approval to implement that agreement.
Any questions? Thank you. And the next one, approve a rollover agreement of the collective bargaining agreement between the Ontario County Board of Supervisors, Finger Lakes Community College, and the FLCC Civil Service Employees Association.
Right, and my comments on this one would be the same. Negotiating teams for the county, the college, and CSEA have also met and agreed on terms for the same period, September 1st, 21 through August 31st, 22. And this resolution is to approve that agreement.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, Adam, we got 4 informational items.
Yeah, I'll just go through these really quick. The first one is maintenance and repair of precision cooling system and chillers. This was a bid number B21069. It's to MCore Services Bethlem, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's for college's routine maintenance, plus any emergency services. The total annual cost would be an amount not to exceed $25,846 for maintenance and repair of precision cooling systems. The second one is for hauling and disposal of trash and recyclables, bid number B21073. It's to Finger Lakes Refuse Disposal. They were the sole responsible bidder. The total annual cost is $22,740. The third one is filters for various HVAC units, bid B21066. It's to John W. Danforth Company. They were the low responsible bidder. It's for a demand contract, and if all estimated quantities are ordered, the total annual cost would be about $21,465. And lastly is the monthly transfer report. There's only 2 items on there for this month.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Can I have a motion to adjourn? Barb, second. Jeff, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Chairman Martin, it's all yours.
I think we lost him. I would recommend, I would recommend, based on what Chairman Martin would normally do, and say, give us a 15-minute break and come back at 6:45.
That sounds good. 6:45.
Okay.
Okay, everyone, my apologies for that sudden loss of connectivity. Thanks for transitioning and covering. Did we say 6:45 in terms of restarting?
Yes, we should be coming back right now.
Great, okay. Let's give folks just another minute here. And there's Dr. Nye. Okay, welcome back. This is the September 1st, 2021 Finger Lakes Community College Board of Trustees meeting, and we'll officially call to order the meeting. This is an opportunity for any public comment. If anyone in the community would like to share their thoughts, we value your thoughts and we encourage your participation. This is your opportunity. We'd love to hear from you. Anyone that's on the call or on the streaming, please feel free to share your thoughts. Anyone at all. Anyone out there? Okay, hearing none, hearing none. Before we move on with the agenda, Penny, please remind us here from an amendment standpoint, the items that we need to identify, and then we will take a motion for an amended agenda as well as a second before we advance. So Penny, please update us if you will.
Okay, the only issue was that we were going to approve the June Board of Trustees committee minutes and the Board of Trustees minutes. And there were in the packet in August for the June minutes, there were some notations after each resolution in the minutes that it was approved. Those were taken out and they were resent to the Board of Trustees to review. So it's just a one-liner that was taken out after each resolution in the committee minutes. So those need to be approved. And then also the August 4th committee minutes need to be approved.
Okay, so our board, go ahead, please
And then
keep going.
those are on the consent agenda. And then the other portion of the consent agenda is the resolutions that were reviewed and discussed this evening.
Okay. So before I hear from board members, we'll make those amendments as our board secretary, Penny Hamilton, has indicated. That'll be a part of an amended agenda. Donna and others, are you comfortable with those changes, and do they include your feedback and wishes?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Any other trustees with regard to changes, adjustments? Hearing none, please a motion and a second by two trustees. A motion, please, on the amended agenda.
I'll move it. This is
Thank
Jeff.
you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. And a second, please.
Second, George.
Thank you, George. Final comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Carried. Thank you very much. Move us on to old business. Maybe Provost Kaiser, if you might just speak to something that might be a bit old as well as a bit new, and that's the new student trustee, maybe the process that's in place for us to anticipate a new trustee representing the student body. If you might give us just a quick update with regard to where that might be at.
Sure. I'm happy to give you an update. We do have one student who is interested, but we're waiting until at least next week until our students are a little bit more acclimated to the school year before having a vote. So will be an election as the policy and normal proceedings, and that election should be next week. And then you will have, we'll identify the student trustee, and they should be able to attend the October board meeting.
Terrific. Any questions for Provost Kaiser? Thank you for that on the spot update. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
With regard to new business, Trustee Malik, do you have some updates with regard to NYCCT or even some past conversations we've had?
Yes, thank you, Steve. The information that I wanted to share with you today was a discussion of the actual awards so that you would all know what they were. And while we may not want to discuss specific names in this meeting, if we were to nominate anyone, the board would need to have a resolution approved at our October meeting, in addition to submitting the nominee's application. So I wanted to talk to you about how you wanted to proceed. I know there have been some thoughts regarding some of the awards, and we may be able to do some emailing back and forth regarding any recommendations of nominees that you may have until we can bring a resolution, one or more, to the floor regarding nominees. So if you don't mind, I'm going to attempt to share my screen. And I hope you can see that. So this was just a, okay, great. Thank you very much. So New York Community College Trustees has had an awards program for decades. And as it currently stands, there are 4 awards for trustees, and there are 4 awards for community members, if you will. There is the first one under trustees. It is essentially a lifetime achievement award. It is not awarded every year. It is typically someone who has, in my experience, has had a long history of involvement with community colleges, frequently beyond the local community college level. They're frequently people who have been in the education field professionally as well, although that's not necessarily the case. But that's a more rare award, and only one is awarded, only one can be awarded every year. The Alice Holloway Young Award, by the way, is named after, these are all of the trustee awards are named after founding members of community colleges in New York State. They were pioneers in their day and recognized in their own time for being distinguished in their field. Alice Holloway Young is based in Rochester and was a Monroe Community College trustee. This is designed for retired trustees who continue to be active in supporting either their local community college or community colleges in general across the state. And I did find, even though we do not seem to have a list, which I'm hoping we can remedy through perhaps board development this year, we do not have a list of all of the award winners that have come through FLCC, but I did find some history that shows that John Britting has received this award back in 1996 when he would have been a retired trustee. He was a founding trustee of Finger Lakes Community College. The RAP awards, and the Alice Holloway Young Award, they will award 3 across the state in any given year. The RAP awards, they can award 5 of them. But again, they're a little more rare because it is designed for leadership that goes above and beyond a typical good trusteeship. And then there is the Mawini Trustee Leadership Awards, again for current trustees, and they award 3 of those per year maximum. And we had an awardee in 2015 with Trustee Emeritus Karen Blasey. I believe that we may have some other trustee awards, but I am hesitant to state names and years because I don't have that clarification in front of me. But I will say that between the award in 1996 and then recently since 2015, we did not, as a college, I don't believe we participated in the awards program. Since then, we've been fairly active, and I'd like to see us continue to do that. I think it is particularly on this side of the ledger here, community partnerships. I think it goes to our commitment and our interconnectedness with the community. So there is a Friend of Community College Award, the highest award that is given to a New York State trustee from the SUNY system to a non-trustee. And just for an example, there's only one per year. H. Carl McCall received this award in 2019 for his efforts at the state level. He was the chair of the SUNY Board of Trustees for many years, but was very much an avid and active supporter of community colleges. And so he received that award. It is rare, again, to give that award out. The Benefactor Vision for Tomorrow Award, actually these next 3 awards, we've all had recent awardees for our college. The Benefactor Vision for Tomorrow Award was designed to distinguish the college from its peers by having a benefactor who would contribute to a new technology or a new field of study, perhaps. And the Florence M. Mueller and the Mueller Foundation received this award for our work in conservancy over the years. And that was, I apologize for not knowing the exact year, but it was after Rob came on board, and I believe it was somewhere around 2016, 2017.
Actually, Donna, this is Santa. I went to that conference. It was 2018.
It was 2018. Let me show. I will change that.
Donna, I was going to say, saying 2018. Ethan Fogg was 2017. GW Lisk was 2016. And
Okay.
Karen was 2015. And we actually have the plaques that were taken off the wall of the conference room because of the new Hyplex system. We had to find a new spot for them.
Okay, great. I would also like to be able to have a list that we can refer to in the future. So this is good. Lisk was 2017.
2016 for Lisk, Ethan Fogg, 2017, the Mueller Foundation, 2018.
2018. Okay, and I apologize if I've missed any, Rob.
No, this is good. Donna, one thing we wanted to let you know is if you want to help, we started doing a little brainstorming, and we'll email you also other names as well for the board to consider.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So what I wanted to explain to you is the rationale behind having a board resolution for each nominee was to make it very clear that this was approved by the majority of the Board of Trustees, acting as a whole as we do for every other responsibility that we have. And so it was designed to make sure it wasn't just one person nominating another person or industry, that this was a consensus by the board. We have had a little bit of concern from some trustees across the state who would like to keep it a surprise. So we, particularly in this time of everybody being hybrid, digital, etc., certainly we are making a little bit of an exception. And as long as we have some indication that this is the wish of the board, and that the majority of board members have signed off on it, we're happy to go along with the surprise. I suspect that may be perhaps for a trustee who may be retiring, something to that effect. I don't know. The Business and Industry Award that we have 2 awardees in recently, Finger Lakes Wine Industry, John Martini from Anthony Road Wineries represented the entire Finger Lakes industry at the time, and that was a challenging nomination to write because it involved the entire industry across the Finger Lakes, but I think it was well worth it and a wonderful distinction. And I think something that we probably should be using to promote ourselves. And then our wonderful cooperation with GW Lisk resulted in that award being given. And Ethan Fogg, many of you know Ethan, outstanding alum. He was awarded the Civic Alumni Award for his contributions. Each college can nominate 2 people, one in the Civic alum category and one for their professional achievements. So just wanted you to be aware of what the awards were, that they are designed to be discussed and voted on by the boards themselves before the awards are given. It's not just, as I said, an individual kind of decision or merely a college cabinet suggestion, although we heavily rely on them. Does anybody have any questions about the awards themselves?
If you could just remind us again, the deadline for submission is?
The deadline for submission is midnight, September 23rd. And that's
Okay.
to be able to provide enough time for the committee to review the awards and then have them produced in time for the presentation, which will be at the conference on November 4th.
Sure. And
again, I would like to thank Don Cass for once again agreeing to serve on the State Awards Committee. We know that the board meetings, getting a resolution from the board by that September 23rd deadline is challenging, particularly this year. And so as long as we can show that we have a resolution scheduled for a board meeting prior to November 4th, the nomination will be accepted. Any other questions?
Yes, so, yep. So Donna, for next steps then, should we all maybe communicate via email in the next week or so, and then maybe have like a special meeting on the 20th to decide on which ones we want to submit?
I am open to any suggestions, and that sounds like a great plan. Would everyone be agreeable to that?
Yeah, I'll second that, Donna.
Okay.
Sure,
Great.
absolutely.
Okay with
Can
me.
you send us the sheet just so we have the descriptions of
Absolutely.
what each one is?
Absolutely.
And then maybe we can all just brainstorm, email back and forth. And maybe Penny can help us schedule a meeting, a special meeting before the 23rd.
That would be great. I'm not sure.
I'll assist in any way I can.
Thank you very much, Penny. I appreciate that.
Hey, Donna,
right.
the ones from the cabinet, if you want some, just because we did some brainstorming, we'll send them to Penny to add, to send to you and to Don Katz.
Well, Don doesn't need them yet.
Okay.
But
We'll
that
send 'em-
would be great if you could include him.
We'll send them through Penny to you.
Okay, very good.
Hey, thank you,
Thanks so
Donna.
much.
Any final questions for Donna? All righty. Any other new business or even old business from trustees or President Nye? Anyone else that has new or old business? Hearing none, I'll move on to the chair's report. I just have a couple items. I'll be in touch with each of you before our October meeting with regard to committee assignments. I know we had some transitions this summer, but that's something that we need to address. And I'll be chatting with each of you to find out your interest in terms of our existing committees. So expect me to reach out to you sometime this month. Secondly, understand the retreat was terrific, certainly packed full. And thanks again for everyone that was able to participate. Any comments or questions or follow-ups from the retreat that trustees would like to see? Oh, come on, there must be something.
Oh, good. All right.
Dr. Nye, any perspectives from you?
Actually, I was going to recommend, based on the wonderful set of presentations, that we actually consider some discussion of how the board can help facilitate those four as one of the primary areas. I thought we had a great start. I think the next step is continuing the great work that Donna and Santa have started in terms of board development, continue discussions on board development. Those are two right there, but I don't know about you all, that was an excellent retreat. And then there's two topics right now that we need to go back and to continue looking at. And what we need is your input. Sorry, Steve, I'll let you say it. We need your input for the next one.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I know it won't come up in October, so that's terrific. So thanks for taking those words out of my mouth. I appreciate it. And that's a great transition to the president's report. Go right ahead, President Nye.
Okay, I'm gonna, one of them's kind of in my report. I'd like to highlight some things in the report, but so I don't forget, there's three things I really need to cover that are not in the report. One that's sort of there, I sent you what the requirements are and expectations for COVID as we started the new school year, and also from the town hall in terms of expectations, so you could see that. I have to tell you, and I'm very, I feel like I'm in a surreal world on pins and needles, but I think these next 60 days are going to be a little bit challenging for us. And we're going to have outbreaks, and we don't know quite how we're going to deal with them exactly yet. In terms of what's going on, we have a meeting with the county tomorrow with the county health folks, the county administrator, so we can get aligned in what the county health believes is appropriate if we have breakouts. We're trying to get all of our students vaccinated. And we think as of yesterday, we had about 500. We don't have proof of any start of vaccination. We had a vaccination clinic today that the county supported where we only had a few students show. So we're working databases to be able to track things the way that SUNY wants and put things together. And it's sort of high times. It's not as intense as it was before, but it's equally as complex and volatile and uncertain and ambiguous as it was last year at this time and last fall and early spring. So I just need to be aware that we'll probably have breakouts. We already have a first positive case from a breakthrough transmissions in terms of testing. And we're going to have to be diligent and keep working and keep you all up to date in what goes on in terms of those activities. But I think we're doing great work. But it's I feel like we've headed back into the wild, wild west, and we have a number of people working on this. I'd like, before I move on, if any of the cabinet members have any thoughts, comments, feel free before I move on. Sorry to put you. I usually try to tell you if I'm going to put you on the spot. I don't think I did it this time. I didn't, so my bad. But anything from the cabinet? Okay. Man. All right. The two that I wanted to talk about, first off, we just got notification yesterday afternoon. The state approved the additional 1.5 million CFA WDI grant to augment our healthcare facilities with the nursing expansion. And Adam ran over to him right before they started because we didn't know if we could use it or not because we're already constructing. And, you know, this is a construction effort, but Adam said that it's good to go. And so that's going to create greater capability for us. And that's really good. We need to advertise that, put that out in the community that we had, we got that 1.5 million grant extra. That's great. And I told Lewis, that's great. Good news. Now I want you to double it for next year. So those people that are talking about grants, okay, we need to grow. And then I also wanted to put out Rich and Jeff were had a meeting with myself today with, and Steve was unable to make it, with the county leadership. And we have been working a project, and it goes back to, I submitted it to some of you, a vision that started with Jamie Rotter, who was on the screen earlier, who came to Jonathan and I in February of this past year and said, hey, I'm concerned about my program. You know, COVID has devastated his industry, and worried about getting students in the program. And we talked about it and said, we'll find you 40,000. We found him 35,000, and the foundation's going to give him 5, or he's going to take 5 out of his monies. Said, well, you use it for whatever you want. Use it for branding and reputation. Use it for whatever. Ultimately, that money is going to be used for new burners in the kitchen, creating partnerships with a kitchen that we're putting skin in the game to create a better lab for the students to come through in the future. Shortly after that, I had to do this June, I had to do a visioning session with New York Kitchen, where I'm on the board. And my vision really came out to what I thought what it should be for the kitchen. This area needs to become the Napa Valley of the East in terms of hospitality, culinary, wine, and so forth. And we have a culinary program that should be competitive in reputation and branding, and equally as good as the Culinary Institute of America. And also that our hospitality program should be as competitive reputationally as the Cornell Hotel School for 2-year programs. And the Lake House became the vehicle for that. Jonathan worked on that with his crew. I did some work, and we're continuing to work. And one of the things we wanted to do was to take it further and expand further to the county. So Jonathan and crew are working very hard with the Lake House to create a program that I'll let him talk about in a second, that creates a certificate program that really becomes a signature. When we talk signature, a signature activity to create a program that's highly branded and reputational, using the Lake House as that vehicle. What's really important now, and I'm hoping somebody like Jeff or Rich can talk about this, we've been trying to work with the county to create partnerships in terms of putting their skin in the game to do things. And they're interested in proposing, not approved, but proposing to fund the first year of the program to help build that program to get us to where we need to be to build it. And they brought up, hey, we wanted at the other locations, the residencies in Geneva. So the Inn and Lake in Geneva, and the castle, Bellevue Castle, and so forth. That's what we need to do. And that's what we're supposed to be doing as community colleges. And before I let Jonathan talk, I just think, Jeff or Rich, if you have any thoughts, that was big for us in terms of creating that type of partnership. Jeff, Rich, anything?
Rich, you want to say anything? No, this goes back to some of the presentation earlier this evening, but this is where there's an opportunity for the college to connect with the community, produce not only a certificate program for the student, but to benefit the industries that they're getting a certificate in. And we had a discussion about the fact that somewhat across the board, there are openings and positions for which there are no people. And this is an opportunity, and the potential advantage to the county obviously is that with more employment comes a better economy in general, which in the long run benefits them. So there appears to be not only a really comprehensive overall objective to be reached, but each one of the pieces gets to have to directly benefit in its own arena. So when we were talking about it with the county, you know, my mind was racing to the fact that this is not only great for the hospitality industry, but it has application in a lot of other areas of the economy as well.
I'm just proud that we have something where we're taking a business and a college and the county and doing something together to synergize efforts, and everyone's putting resources into the game. Jonathan, you want to explain very briefly what the certificate program is?
Sure. This is very much a team effort. On the FLCC team, it's been our faculty in culinary, hospitality, our admissions folks, our enrollment management folks, our director of applied learning, our workforce initiative, myself. On the Lake House side, it's been their HR office and their director of operations. It's a one-year certificate program that allows students to take courses during the off season in 7.5-week courses. So similar to some of the ideas you've seen earlier today. They take courses starting October to April, educational courses that they're here on campus. And then during the high season, they're applying those skills and what they've learned by working at the Lake House in a variety of different rotations. So the Lake House has agreed that they'll allow students to rotate through different departments to gain a variety of skills and applied learning experiences that augments their classroom learning. It's really a strong, very strong program. We're also committed to finding last dollar scholarships. So this will be a selective, in the ideal world, this will be a selective program that we funnel our most talented students to this cohort, and they'll be eligible for last dollar scholarships paid for through either a grant, a workforce grant, county's monies, or the Lake House. But that's what we're committed to do. In agreement to getting that last dollar scholarship, the students commit to working for a year upon graduation. So it creates a stable workforce for the employer. It creates opportunities and access for students. And it's all based on when is the best time to either apply those skills in the real world setting or taking those courses in the off season at FLCC.
Thanks, Jonathan. Any questions from the group?
Yes, this is Santa. I have a question. How many students are enrolled for this session?
This is still exploratory. We're developing the curriculum, developing it. We're designing the curriculum for 6 to 12 students. I think the ideal number might be 12, but I would love to be able to flex up if we have strong interest.
Thank you.
The other thing that's important was discussed today is that we've been trying to do this with manufacturers and we're not quite there yet, but we're getting close. This is really it's really an apprentice program. If you want to think about it, it's paying the student to go to school and paying the student to go to work. And it's if we can get it going, just as you know, for me, it's like the pebble in the pond. Get it started, throw it in, and get one to bite off. And when they start getting good people, you go, you want to get good people, invest, and we'll help you. And we can help our students too, and they get paid better money, they get experience, and they get a lot. They get it for a lot less money than they would otherwise. So it's a good thing. Any other questions, thoughts? Oh. Thanks, Donna. I would like to highlight a couple things from our report very briefly. I was very brief when I was writing. I talked about COVID, high flex learning classes. We're getting started. John Taylor and Jonathan Kaiser have done a great job in their areas of getting started and what high flex means. And so it's another aspect of the flexible learning that we talked about. Another exciting news. We're kind of back on and helping to support the Navy Community College in concert with Empire State. More to follow on that, but it means that we might be able to garner some of that in the future, which is good. And I did want to tell you that our efforts to support the Navy Community College and pulling in SUNY and being a team player, I was told that that was directly why we got all 3 programs for the SUNY Online that we requested to move forward, which now means we have more online programs than any other SUNY college around. And Carol, if you want to talk about the numbers, at least of last Friday, we had 346 students in the SUNY Online, whereas last year when we got done, it was 227. So it's really a good thing. Any thoughts from you, Carol? And are the numbers still good and everything?
Yep. And I just
was looking at the numbers that Matt sent me today. We have 194 students who enrolled in SUNY online programs between summer and fall. And you may know that we implemented a summer start for the SUNY online programs. So we had a total of 23 students start in the summer, and 171 starting this fall, for a total of 194 enrolled combined for both terms.
Thanks, Carol.
You're welcome.
The other things I wanted to put out real briefly, I had my first session with the SUNY Pathways for Leadership. As the board knows, you're involved in, some of you are involved in some sessions in the spring semester, and that we'll have some, hopefully some mini retreats in between those, so the people that attend can then spread the goodness that came out of it. The one they held today, the first one, the kickoff, was with just the presidents, 10 presidents. And I found it very helpful when you have the founder and head of the Aspen Institute there being the guide for the entire afternoon, 4 hours worth. It was really helpful. So the next step is we have 2 with the cabinet and 2 weeks from now, and then in October, and then we start the ones with the board in January and February. I also wanted to highlight very quickly, thanks to Derek Smith from Public Safety, Lenore Friend, John Taylor, Rick Klinoditz, and others I'm probably missing, but the cybersecurity exercise we had was very useful. So we activated the EOC and the EPG to be able to work through a cyber scenario exercise, which is really helpful, and everybody did a great job. It's important we do that. That's one of the biggest threats we have coming up. I was reading an article recently that you don't have to worry about a 911 incident anymore with towers. You have to worry about a 911 from a cyber threat where someone poisons your water through cyber and things of that nature. So what we're doing is important. And finally, Jonathan already said it, but I'm making it really easy for you. If you wish to be one of the phone callers for the students at risk that Jonathan just described, in the very bottom of my report, there's a link. All you have to do is click it, put your name in, send it back, and you will be contacted to be able to do that. And I would offer to each of you on the screen, take a little bit, take a few students. Those of you who've done it, you'll find it's humbling, and you'll also find the challenges out that it is, that how many actually reach out to you. It's a mixed bag, but it's really helpful. So my paid advertisement, go down to the bottom of my report, click on it, and help us out. That's my report. I am done, Chairman Martin.
I thank you very much. That was a fine report. Questions of trustees for President Nye?
No, we're good.
All righty. Thank you all. We'll move to some committee reports here, and trustees Abraham and Halleck, if you might take board development, anything else you might want to add in terms of your nice written report. Donna or Santa?
I put in my 2 cents. Santa, you have anything you would like to add?
No, thank you for documenting that.
Thank you. That was quite a robust report. We appreciate it, and something we all had a chance to read. How about the association? Trustee Cass or Trustee Hamlin? Maybe an update or anything happening during the summer?
No, we haven't met yet. We have orientation on the 21st, and then our first regular meeting will be on the 28th.
Moving to the foundation.
Santa, I'll let you give the good news report.
All right, I have it queued up right here. Let's see here. So the foundation awarded $160 for the fall 2021 semester. The 37th annual Constellation Brand Scholarship Celebration is scheduled for September 23rd. where we will honor and celebrate the scholarship recipients and the donors who make these opportunities possible. This event may be moved to virtual, not sure yet. Thank you to everyone who participated in the golf events this year. Between the golf tournament and the golf ball drop, we raised $38,000 for general scholarship funding. Last year, we were able to support the enrollment management team by providing $17,000 to the Early Scholars Program, which was made possible through the proceeds from last year's golf events. So $38,000, that's pretty amazing. That's the foundation report.
It's fantastic. That's significant. And the golf ball drop in the second year really seems to be popular as well. It's a nice add on there. So fine work. About the Student Corp. Again, Trustee Cushman or Trustee Abraham, any updates on Student Corp, or is that in hiatus?
No meetings yet for the
Okay.
semester.
Thank you. And finally, Donna, anything further on NYCCT that you would like to share with us or update?
I have one correction into the in the report. I listed the Trustee Institute, which is a boot camp type event for new trustees or a refresher for anyone. They are going to run it concurrently on Saturday morning from 9 to noon, as opposed to prior to the conference. So if that is more convenient, I know some of you had said in the past you wished it was held at a more convenient time. Whether it will be available online, I still do not know that, but the event will be in Saratoga Springs, if in person. Thank you.
Okay, good.
So that updated clarification. Any final reports on any of the committees?
Can I make a comment really quick, please?
Of course, please.
I just wanted to comment quick on the Audit and Enterprise Risk Management Committee. Originally, that meeting was scheduled for today at 3 o'clock. That meeting was canceled, and I'll be working with the committee members to reschedule those dates moving forward.
Thank you, Adam. Yes, we did see that, and we appreciate that update as well. Those are important meetings, and we look forward to a new schedule, if you will. Any other announcements? Any other comments with regard to committees? Hearing none. We do have an executive session that we'll link to here in a minute to discuss matters regarding the employment history of a particular person or matters leading to the employment of a particular person pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law, New York Public Officer Law, Article 7, Section 105, F as in Frank. Please, a motion and a second to move into executive session. We will return back to public session after this. A motion and a second, please.
I move.
Second.
Thanks, Joan. Thanks, Jeff. All in favor? Aye.
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 We'll close out of here. See everyone in executive session on the other link. Thank you.
Jeff, it looks like you're still joined in. Yeah.
Jeff, you're in the wrong one.
Hang
Want me
on.
to send it to you? I can send. I'm going to send it to them again. Just a second.
I had something happen with my application here on my screen. So let me go back and start again.
Let me just send you the link again.
All right.
Do that right now. I'm going to send Jeff the link again. Oh, I'll send it to you. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, let me send it to you then. Okay, I just sent it.
All right.
Do you have it? Oh, oh, okay. Just a second. Sorry.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Looks like we have everyone here. Thanks for the point of order, Barb. We did have a motion and a second in executive session. Let's call that one more time. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions carried. Yes, I'll put that down as 9-0. Now we're in public session. Anything final for tonight's meeting? Seeing or hearing none, please a motion to adjourn and a second.
Santa
A
motion.
motion.
Thank you, Santa, in a second.
Barb, second.
Thank you, Barb. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Have a nice evening and enjoy the rest of the month. We'll see you in October. Take care.
Happy Labor Day.
Thank
Happy
you.
Labor Day.
Bye-bye.
Hey.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.